Welcome back to the Washington Commanders Declassified Podcast. As we always like to say, your home for all things Washington Commanders. Training camp is underway. We are talking training camp tonight, and that's it. Training camp and training camp activities. So far, Eric, at the start of training camp, there's been a couple of stars that have really been sticking out to me. Number one is Jayden Daniels, who is having a tremendous camp so far. I am ready to say that this guy is at least going to be pretty decent in the NFL. And if not, an absolute superstar. Eric, have you been encouraged by what you've seen from the Jayden Daniels reports?
Yeah, I mean everybody says he looks the part. That's all you can ask. I'm still concerned about how skinny he is. It's going to take me a while to get over that. It's going to take me a healthy year to get over that. But I mean, he looks like he knows what he's doing out there. By all accounts, everybody kind of compares him to what's been here in the past, and yeah, it's favorably. They're saying he's playing better. He looks better than Mariota does at this point. So there's nothing not to like about that. I mean, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I'm not making any grand declarations about what he's going to be in the NFL at this point after 2 days of training camp. But I'm optimistic. I think he's gonna. I think health. If he stays healthy, he's gonna have himself a good career. I think the bust potential with him is a little bit lower than what it might be with some of the other guys in this draft class, and that's encouraging. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him under the lights.
Yeah. I mean, he just seems to have it all together. He's a hard worker. He seems to know the system, know the playbook in and out, and he gets the ball out quick. Mike, how encouraged are you with Jayden Daniels?
It's still on schedule. It's going as I expected, so to speak. He's not doing too bad. He's not looking like Peyton Manning out there. Like he's looking like Jayden Daniels. They're talking about his command of the huddle, his command of the offense, his decision making. Someone even mentioned that he was making line adjustments at the line. So I'm optimistic. Like I just want to see him play in a real meaningful game before I say anything else. But yeah, there's no concern. Everything seems to be on schedule.
Mike, do you want Dan Quinn to just name him the starter from what they've seen so far? Are you cool with this thing playing out all throughout training camp?
I'm cool, especially since he's a rookie. Like, if it was a vet, maybe you would want to like nip it in the bud um, as soon as you can. And like people are saying, like Mariota, he hasn't looked horrible, but clearly he's not looking as well as Daniels is looking so far in the first 2 days. So I don't. Yeah, to answer your question, I don't think it's necessary. I'm cool with the way they're doing it. They're not hiding it. They're not BSing us. They're basically saying, when we're ready, we'll do it. But until then, just sit back and enjoy the show.
I'm with that, man. And I mentioned there's a couple stars. Luke McCaffery is looking completely. You saw the clip that the team put out. He caught a little flare pass and just housed it. He looked when he had the ball in his hands running. He looked like Christian McCaffrey to me when he was running up the sideline.
Yeah,
I see that. Like I was like, man, that's incredible how much they look alike with the ball in their hands and their running motion, their quickness, everything like that. Eric, we're about a week or a couple of days into camp. Excuse me. Are you expecting super big things from Christian McCaffrey this year?
No, I'm not expecting it. He's a rookie. I'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't think he can't do it. I don't think it's fair to put those kind of high expectations on a rookie, fourth round pick. We did that a couple of years ago with a Mr. Diami Brown, and look how that turned out. So let's just cool the jets. Let him have a good camp. Let him learn the game. And if he, anything he produces this year to me is gravy, because when you bring a guy in the middle of the draft on day two, late day two, you shouldn't expect that guy to be a year one producer. And if he is, awesome. You expect him to be a contributor at some point. That's the best I hope for with like a mid-round pick. And I think he's shown that he might have the ability to do that. But now I'm not expecting, big things from him, maybe a highlight or two. But anything we get from him will be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is the most optimistic I've been in probably 10 years, just because.
Yeah, I
No,
haven't
12.
noticed.
Yeah,
Weird.
I know. Usually I'm the measured one.
You've been so low key all off season. I don't know.
Johnny Newton came off his non-football injury list. He passed his medical. Sounds like he's going to start getting in the mix a little bit. Mike, is he a year one contributor?
Absolutely. The way they talk about him, the way they gush about him, the fact that a lot of people had him high on their defensive tackle list coming out the draft, the tape, the highlights, like he just seems to be a perfect fit for what they're trying to do as far as having players that can play multiple positions. He could be a nose tackle, he could be a D tackle, he could rush outside. He really reminds me of John Allen, man. Like John Allen 2.0 or something. And I can't wait for the day where him, Payne, and Allen are on a line together. That should be fun. That should be fun. So, yeah, he's definitely a contributor for sure.
Yeah. The Giants used to have that NASCAR package back in the day. We'll have the bigger version of that, right? So, like, we might be the monster truck package or something. That would be fun to see with all our big guys out there at the same time. Jamin Davis came up today because Dan Quinn was talking about getting Jayden Daniels to learn the outside linebacker position as a pass rusher and working with Ryan Kerrigan on that. Eric, are we getting closer and closer to seeing Jamin Davis as a pure pass rusher?
I don't know. It's got to be difficult to learn that. He's brand new at it. My hope for him is that he takes a step forward this year, and I think coming off the edge will help him do that. I don't know that he's ever going to be a pure pass rusher, but he'll get a lot more opportunities this year. One, because with Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu inside, there's not as much need for him to be that stand-up linebacker, playing the strong side or weak side. Whereas, and what we have on the edges is a little bit of an unknown. We've got some quality players, but there's no superstar coming off the edge. And Jamin Davis certainly has the athletic ability to be that. It just depends on how quickly he can develop as an edge rusher and how much, Ryan Kerrigan can teach him and how much he can take. I don't know if like I said, I don't know that he's ever going to be a pure pass rusher, but I think we'll see a lot of it this year. And I hope he does well at it. I've got high hopes for him.
I do too. Because I think sometimes he'll rediscover, like, players that come out high that don't really pan out, rediscover themselves in a position alteration and have a good career. Is Jamin Davis going to be a superstar at this point? The odds say probably not, just given the lack of production, but he still has a chance to be a good player. I heard Dante Fowler Jr. is balling out at camp so far, which is a little bit of a surprise. When we signed him in free agency, he wasn't the guy that everybody thought was like, oh, Dante Fowler Jr., but it sounds like he's having a pretty good camp too. So maybe we're going to be a little bit better off than we expected to be in terms of pass rush and things like that. Brian Robinson has been standing out in the passing game. Brian, last year Robinson was effective in the screen game in particular, but he's catching deep passes, post routes, flag routes, etc. What are you looking for from Brian Robinson Jr. this year?
Pro Bowl. I really feel like he's going to flirt with a Pro Bowl season. Even I slept. I didn't know that he had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage last year. I didn't realize that until about 3 weeks ago, maybe, and I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know that." But when you think about it, he caught a lot of passes from Sam Howell last year. A lot of passes. Some of my favorite being Week 1 against the Cardinals when he caught the touchdown. And I can't remember what week, but it was a game versus Seattle when he took a play to the house, like a short pass to the house. He showed everybody last year that he's not just a bruiser. He's not just a power back. He is a complete running back. Maybe got to work on his blocking a little bit, reading the gaps and whatnot. But I feel like Kingsbury gonna have a lot of fun with Robinson. Think about what he did with Connor, man. Like, yeah, a Pro Bowl. I'm expecting it.
That's an interesting comparison. Who's a better runner, Connor or Robinson, in your opinion?
I definitely feel like Connor is the better runner, um, based on what he did in Pittsburgh and Arizona. Until Robinson can produce like Connor has, like both as a runner and as a receiver, I gotta go with Connor. But he can make it interesting at the end of the year. Like come January, he could be one of them running backs that's winning a lot of people a fantasy title this year.
Yeah, I think at this point in his career, Robinson is a better receiver than he is runner. Especially when he gets those feet going in the pass game. He's really hard to stop when he's coming
Yeah.
downhill with the ball in his hands. And, you know, I hope Kingsbury's going to focus on the run. I hope it's going to be a big part of the offense. You won't really see that till the pads go on. So I'm looking forward to that part of it too. Um, we have our new coaches, we got a new offense, we got a new defense set. Derek Derek Forrest and Quan Martin, all our guys are getting into training camp shape and ready to rock and roll. We have some scrimmages against other, not scrimmages, but practices against some other squads and everything like that. So this is all becoming really, really real. Football's on TV in a week, by the way, guys. I think the Hall of Fame game is just about a week away. And that's always a point in the offseason when I start to get really excited that football's back, because after that, it's preseason almost every week thereafter until the regular season. So we are getting close. You guys mentioned Mariota at the beginning of this call. And by all accounts, he hasn't looked bad. They're saying that he's a little bit slower getting the ball out and, than Jayden Daniels is. But, hey, he's a backup quarterback. We know what he is. He's on this roster. He's going to be the number 2 going into the season, Eric, correct?
Yeah, there's no way you go in with unless Jeff Driscoll has like a massive step forward that he hasn't shown in the 7 or 8 years he's been in the league. I don't see anybody. You don't go in without a veteran backup, and Mariota is probably the best person to be Jayden Daniels' backup at this point. They're literally the exact same guy, like 8 years apart, right? Like, Mariota was the Heisman winning mobile quarterback, number 2 overall pick, in 2015. And now Jayden Daniels is in that same spot. I mean, that's a match made in heaven, in my opinion. I don't think, and I don't think you have to change the offense that much, going from one of those guys to the other, because they do have, different, similar skill sets, maybe not exactly the same, not a 1-to-1 translation, but they're both, thinner framed, mobile. I think Daniels looks like he's going to be a much better passer, which is good. But I think you can do a lot of the same things with Mariota that you could if you're going to run with Daniels. You don't have to completely change up everything you're doing, or limit your playbook if you have to make a mid-game change. So, yeah, Mariota 100%, unless he's injured, which we don't want to see. But barring injury, there's no way he's not on the roster.
Definitely agree. Just want our listeners to know, and you did a great job of educating them. What else do you guys want to see from the first week of camp? I mean, it's early. The guys are just back. There's been some major injuries already around the league too, which is kind of scary. Like season-ending injuries without the pads on and everything like that, which to me makes me nervous. It's part of why I hate training camp. It's part of why I hate preseason, because these types of injuries do happen. So I definitely want to see our guys stay healthy. Mike, what's some other things that you want to see from the next week or so of camp?
I want to hear more about Jayden Daniels. I would love to hear more about the cornerbacks, especially after they put on pads. But so far, Forbes and St. Juste have been the outside starters with the first team defense. And Sandberg has been the slot corner. So that's promising. You would like to have 3 young corners or 3 people in the secondary, a la the Chiefs of last year. So, yeah, I would like to see that. I would love to start hearing more about Brandon Coleman. I haven't heard his name yet, so I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. Or Cornelius Lucas. Maybe he can just something can finally snap and he can turn into a first team All Pro or something. Who knows? But yeah, I just want to see continuous progress, and of course, no injuries. And yeah, and good times, good times. No fights either, man. Like I already saw 2 or 3 fights already. Like nah. And I love the way. I'm sorry to be rambling, but this is the last thing. I love the way that Quinn and Peters, I guess, set up the locker room. I've heard multiple people mention that it's a mixed bag. Like McLaurin said he was sitting next to Forbes. Yeah, McLaurin said he was sitting next to Forbes. John Allen is sitting next to Beatis or close to him, like a couple of seats away. So yeah, like I really love that they're trying to mix things up with the team, and I'm excited. Like I can't wait to see how it all looks.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it all come together too, man. Very well said. Eric, what else you want to see for the next week at camp or so?
Yeah, positive vibes. Just want to keep those. I want to keep those flowing. I did hear a blur. I think it was John Kime said something really positive about Brandon Coleman earlier today. Said his footwork looks fantastic. He he was working against Jamin Davis on a pass rush. I don't know if that's good for Coleman or bad for Jamin, but he said he was able to handle like an inside spin move pretty well using that. So I look forward to seeing that. So yeah, Brandon Coleman's definitely something I would like to watch. Not 100% sure Lucas becomes a first team All Pro, although I'd love to see it. But yeah, I mean, Lucas has been a solid player throughout his entire career. You'll see more of that, but he's kind of a career backup for a reason. He tends to get exposed a little bit the longer he's out there. So hopefully Brandon Coleman can step up a little sooner than later. Yeah, I'm also curious. My guy Forbes. I want to see how he's progressing. How he's responding to the new coaching staff. Yeah, and I just want to see how things come all together. I don't put a lot of stock into stuff until really the pads go on, and even then, because they really don't hit practice anyway anymore. So once the preseason games start rolling in, I look forward to that. So just no injuries until week 1 of the preseason, and I'll be a happy camper.
Yeah, love it, man. Game being a part of practice again. Last year, you guys know my nerves because Bieniemy didn't practice it, and then we didn't see it in the regular season. So I want to see what that run game looks like, what our run blocking looks like. Let's say Sam Cosmi be the dog that he is. Offensive line, and then how it stacks up against some of these other squads that we're going to compete against in practice. Biggest thing is just prepare for the preseason. Give guys just enough reps to get some work and then get them out of there so we can be healthy going into the regular season. This is a year where we need to find out about ourselves, and we can't do that if our guys are on the sideline or in the training room, right? So we need our folks ready and able to play when the games start to count. I'd also like to hear a little bit more about defense in general. I know it's kind of tough when these guys are just in practice pennies or practice jerseys. Defense is at a disadvantage at this point in the off season. So when the pads go on, things start to true up a little bit. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. I don't want any guys just, being stupid and laying guys out. Mike, you referenced a fight that happened, I think it was at the Chiefs camp, where that guy on the Chiefs just blew the guy up. The receiver caught the ball, the play was almost over. The guy just came, it was like number 59 or something, and destroyed this guy. And then Travis Kelce came over and got in his face and things like that. Like, we can't have that. We got to be a team. We got to be united. We got to have guys that are here fighting for the same cause and not trying to show off.
So there was another fight too, the Texans fight down in Houston, but that's not what I want to talk about. I actually want to tell about a tweet that I saw on X. Somebody said the Texans were hosting third graders during training camp, and there was a video with the tweet. Man, why was it Tank Dell running routes on in training camp? And they basically saying that he's small and look like a third grader. And that just took me out, and I figured y'all would,
Yeah,
you and the audience would enjoy that joke.
I
Because
did
Tank
see
Dell
that.
is actually a monster.
Yeah, he's a tiny monster, but he's a monster. But
Yeah.
that's yeah. There's a I
Like your
saw the
kneecaps.
the story with Calvin Johnson. Did you guys see that? Where Calvin Johnson was talking about one of the hardest hits that he's taken in a game, and it was London
Yeah.
Fletcher. London Fletcher blew him up, and he said he told the coaches he didn't want to play anymore that game because London Fletcher just rearranged his whole system. Man, that was cool to
Do
hear.
y'all remember that game?
No, I don't.
That I remember that game and that play. That was the last play with it was the fourth quarter and it was fourth down, and Johnson caught a drag or a cross across the middle, and London Fletcher tackled him about 3 yards short of the first down. But like you said, it was a hit, like he rocked him,
Yeah,
and that led to the win. So yeah, that was a nice memory on today. I appreciate Saint Brown. I was about to say Saint Juice, Saint Brown for dropping that podcast episode.
yeah. London Fletcher changed a few guys too because he did the same thing to Brandon Jacobs in the hole. Man, that's one of my favorite plays of all time from London Fletcher because Brandon Jacobs used to just run wild over us, and then Fletcher came and popped him, and I don't think he was ever the same after that. So definitely some good stuff. Season's getting started. Training camp will continue the rest of this week, and of course, we'll talk to you guys about it next time we record an episode. Eric, any final thoughts?
Stay healthy, guys. That goes for you and the Commanders. Everybody stay healthy. No injuries before the regular season.
That's right. Drink your water. Stay healthy. Mike, what are your final thoughts?
Just I want everybody to enjoy training camp. Stop arguing with each other. Like, yeah, just stop it. Like, y'all look so dumb, man. Like, it's entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but come on, y'all look so dumb. Like, it's have cordial, respectful debates. Yeah, it might get intense, but when you start name calling and getting personal, it's just lame, man. So cut that nonsense out.
Yeah, keep it respectful, keep it G, as they like to say. Hey, shout out to everybody that's been like riding with us for a very long time on this podcast since the beginning. There's too many to name, but you guys know who you are. And interacting with us on social media and Twitter when I can get to it. I'm sorry, I'm busy. I don't get to get to it a lot like I used to. But we appreciate every single one of you, listeners, viewers. People don't even listen to us, but watch us or interact with us on social media. Everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll be back next week. Make sure you're locked in. We got to get to doing some lives too. We don't do lives enough. We will do some before the season starts. I'm going to try to talk the fellas into doing at least one of them with me. But we're out. We have a good night. We can get back to more of this training camp knowledge, and we'll see you guys next week. Commanders Declassified. We're out of here.